What up, folks? What it do? Welcome to another episode of the Best Advice Ever podcast with your guy, man, Mike Goodwin, the bow-tied comedian. Now, what's interesting, this is irony. What I'm going to talk about today, and if you're watching this, you obviously see I'm not in my typical bow-tie comedy attire. If you listen to the audio, you don't know. But right now, I'm rocking a WNBA hoodie. Shout out to the WNBA preseason. I'm a big South Carolina Gamecock fan, as you know. And we are steadily populating the WNBA with players. So I'm going to be a little bit more mindful, not mindful, but pay a little bit more attention to what's going on with the WNBA. I've been loosely following the Aces, especially doing a playoff run. I'm not, I kind of watch and check to see what their record is. But I watched the WNBA championship game at least maybe the last 3 years. I know the last 2 years, but maybe the last 3 years. I remember the Chicago Sky winning a year ago, and then not a year ago, 2 years ago. I don't remember who won it 3 years ago. And then last year, the Aces won. Also this year, the Indiana Fever has like 3 Gamecocks. They got Destiny Henderson, Victoria Saxton, and the one and only Aaliyah Boston. So they are currently on the team. Then you got Bree B. I don't know what team. I think I don't know, in Chicago possibly. She's out at a team. You got out in LA, you got Zaya Cook. Again, you have Asia with the Aces. We just had a girl come back. She's going to be with the Dream in Atlanta. I see her in the gym. And her family, she's from here. She lives here in Columbia. She went to Dutch Fork. And I can't pull her name out the top of my head, but I see her at the gym at least once a week. I saw her at the gym like 2 weeks ago. Coates, Aaliyah Coates. So she's going to the Dream. I think Tiffany is out there somewhere. Tiffany Mitchell is on the team. Alicia Gray. I think Alicia Gray plays for the Atlanta Dream. The young woman that transferred, Kia, her father's an NBA player, Davis. Kia Davis. I don't know if she's currently in the league. I just saw that Kiki was waived during the preseason. So yeah, the more and more Gamecock basketball players that make their way into the WNBA, I will be paying much more attention. And it's interesting today, the advice that I'm gonna give relative to what I am wearing. So let's get this podcast started. I typically start every episode with On the Road. But not today. I'm not going to be on the road. I'm not going to be on the road for a few weeks, probably another 6 weeks, 5-6 weeks. Part of that is the way that booking and scheduling happened. May, as the months were shaping up, there wasn't any action happening in May, and then I started saying, "Hey, let's not do anything in May." That would give me the ability to just recharge and rest. I've been running, man. I've been running. Probably the last break was like COVID, and so I was running prior to COVID. COVID, we had a little break, and I got to moving pretty quickly after COVID. And so it may seem like a very appropriate time to take a little stop, take a hiatus, a little sabbatical, a little Maymaster, right? A few things that I need May for. One is just to say, to recharge and to reformulate my brain. I was telling my beautiful wife the other day, what makes the engine run is my thoughts, my brain. If my brain's not well, if it's too inundated with information, if it's over stimulated or overwhelmed, I don't produce the same type of material. So now I give myself an opportunity to decompress a little bit, take a little breath. It's like the end of a college semester. Take a little break. The other thing is my weight. So, and this episode I'll kind of tie into that component a little bit, but I'll share as it relates to weight in the actual advice that I'll give. And I'll give you a little bit of background and context. And the other thing for May being a good kind of stopping place, it's not all the way midway of the year. It's not the 6 month mark, but it's at a point where we can look at what's been happening. And I got a number of projects, tour dates that'll happen here in the fall. So like really being strategic about putting the plan into place for probably the next 12 to 18 months of what I want going forward. And that takes a little bit of time to slow down and sit down and take a break. It's hard to prepare for the upcoming season in the actual season. That's why it's good to have an off season and a preseason and a regular season and a playoff season. I really, even though I'm not a professional athlete, I really like that rhythm of life. I really enjoyed school calendar. When I was in school, you would have the beginning of a semester year, January, to about this point, May, where folks were starting to wind down. At the end of the year just felt different. Classes were a little bit more casual. Teachers were showing videos as opposed to assigning work. They were like field day activities, field trips, and those types of things typically would happen at the end of a school year. And it's half the year because you start the year in August, but from January to about May. So then when I worked at the school, I would have June, July, and a portion of August pretty much for the summer. I think in that summer, I may take 2 weeks for a little vacation type deal, but I always had 2 weeks that I had to do for my reserve training. So that wasn't vacation. That was some humping, some work. And I would have typically the month of July that was just kind of for me to plan for the upcoming school year. Wasn't getting a lot of traffic into my office, even the campus, like all the teachers were going. There would be summer programs, things like that, camps. But for the most part, it would be a skeleton crew on campus, small crew of people. We run and get lunch together. Most folks would work to about 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and then they check out a little earlier than usual. And then August happens, and then you're back at it. You're kind of gearing up, and you're in the soup until about December. You get that little break in December. January starting again. So I enjoyed that rhythm, but I definitely enjoy kind of the attitude around a season. Like my comedy season is from here to here. The playoffs start here, and then championship time, and then we got an off season. I really like that rhythm. But most folks, if you're not working at a school, because that's the people that were working typical careers, like my buddy, in real estate. I mean, real estate probably has ebbs and flows, but people want to buy houses all the time. Folks, there's no time of the year where folks are like, yeah, I'm not buying no house. So there is no, like, it's all a season. So then now you need to implement a flow and how things work for your particular industry. Well, that being said, I think we should go ahead and jump off the best advice ever. So again, those of you that are on video, it's going to be a little ironic, but my best advice ever today is look good, feel good. Look good, feel good. Now, I do not have on my blazer. I do not have on my button-up shirt. I do think I look good. I mean, it's a very comfortable hoodie. I got my little beanie on my head, my little Under Armour repping underneath. But look good, feel good. And this is primarily related to style and fashion. Dressing up, stepping it up a little bit. That's something that's very important to me. As you can tell, I wear a bow tie. I'm bow tie comedy. But let me give you my superhero origin story. I grew up as a young lad. I was the first of 3 children. And my mom is not a seamstress by profession, but she really enjoyed fabrics, clothes, sewing. And because I was the number one, the first child, and they had me for like 4 years before another person showed up, I had a semi only child experience. I didn't have the full only child experience like growing up, but I did have about a good 4-year stretch where as a 4-year-old, I mean, I don't think you understanding all of how life works, but as a 4-year-old, you got a pretty good concept of me. And so a lot of attention was put on me. I had nice little suits. There's a picture I'll probably put in my Instagram stories this week. I was in a 3-piece suit. My mom had me in a 3-piece suit. I was like a little toy doll, like a little baby doll. Like my mother really enjoyed dressing me up. And whatever that energy was, whatever that early initial foray into style and fashion, it stuck. I don't know if it's in my DNA specifically, or I just remembered how big a deal clothes were. It stuck. And just growing up in general, clothes, I mean, I really enjoyed basketball. I like girls. I really liked girls. Girls was, I always liked girls. I like girls from the beginning. It was all the girls. I like the girls. Wanted to be with the girls. So those were very important to me. I like basketball. Basketball came when I was about 12, 13, maybe even 14. Like I remember whatever. I need to go back and do the check. But I remember watching the NBA Finals. It was 88 or 89, basically when the Pistons beat the Lakers in that finals. They beat the Bulls to go to the finals. That was in the NBA Eastern Conference Finals. I think that might have been the game where Scottie Pippen was having those migraines. There was a I think, and I'm going to actually go back through The Last Dance and do some footage, some videos about my perspectives and what stood out to me about The Last Dance. But I remember Scottie Pippen just was not dependable during that stretch run early. He would have these migraines. He would often be out of the game. Detroit had what they call Jordan rules, where they would just hammer Jordan anytime he got into the paint. And this when Detroit was the bad boys. They were on the top of the world. So I am a huge, if you do not know this, I don't do a lot of, this is not a player you often hear people talk about. Joe Dumars. If you go watch some Joe Dumars footage, Joe was nice. Joe, to me, kind of represents a little bit what Steph Curry represents to this modern age of children. When I was a kid, a guy like Joe Dumars seemed like a guy I could be. Like Joe Dumars wasn't super tall. He wasn't super athletic. He wasn't jumping from the free throw line. I just saw a guy that was like maybe my build, my size. Maybe Joe may be 6'3", but he looked like a smaller guy, and he could just go. I mean, he could just play, and so that resonated with me because again, I don't have this freakishly athletic build, and I can't jump out of the gym and catch the ball off the backboard type deal. Where I was a huge Jordan fan, but I looked at Jordan like I could practice some of his moves and his emulate his style and his the way that he plays. But Joe Dumars gave me like a path. Like, oh man, you could play like Joe. Joe's about y'all about the same size. So I was huge Joe, and he could play defense. Man, he could knock down wide open shot. Man, Joe could just go, man. Joe, and he didn't talk. Joe Dumars didn't do a lot of talking. And that team, there was a lot of other folks that talked. Isaiah Thomas, Bill Lane Beer. Even in that moment in time, Dennis Rodman wasn't even talking back then. Dennis Rodman was just like the little brother that just went out and played hard and got rebounds and blocked shots like he did. He just wasn't a rebounding guy. Like he was just the worm back then. He wasn't the Dennis Rodman we've come to know from the Chicago Bulls. Back then, he was just the worm. I don't even know if he was coloring his hair yet. He was just the regular, long, lanky, not point guard, but like small forward style. He was out there slashing, blocking shots, playing defense, falling all over the place, taking charges. So I love that. I love that whole team. Vinnie Johnson was the microwave. He come in and just light it up. So I was a big fan of that team in particular, big fan of Joe Dumars. So I kind of fell in love with basketball, really fell in love with basketball at that point. But the other thing I loved was clothes. Like I literally, when I just sitting here thinking, I remember getting one of my like prized possessions. I got a pink polo button up when I was in middle school. I might have been in the 7th grade. And I don't know if my mom got it from Goodwill. I don't know if there was someone else that had it but that was a prized possession of mine. I also had these black and white, like it wasn't boat shoes, but like loafers that had a little tassel. I got those from JCPenney in like the 7th grade. And I can remember wearing those shoes every day to school. I don't care what I had on. I had on these black and white. They were like Miami Vice, beach loafers. And I wore those jokers every day because I just always had the attitude, if I look good, I'm going to feel good. And then from there, I had a Bugle Boy shirt. I had this Bugle Boy shirt that I bought with my own money. There was a commercial back in the day. Guy standing on the side of the road. A woman drives by in this car. She hits the brakes. Skirt. Hey, excuse me. Are those Bugle Boy jeans you're wearing? And I don't know if he got in the car or not, but the jeans were bad enough to make her stop in this deserted desert. So clothes, man, I just always have had an affinity for fashion. Clothes. I'm a member of a black fraternity. Cap outside there. I love looking at the pictures of the brothers from like 1911 and 1915 and 1920. Like those dudes were in suits and derby hats. And I used to just be in awe of the fashion that these young guys were wearing back in the early 1900s as college students. These 19, 18, 20-year-olds in full-on suits. You didn't see suits, that style really started to change until maybe about the 60s, probably mid-60s, where you started to see more of the denim, polyester, where clothes became a lot more trendy and fashionable. But before that point, pretty classic suits. And I'm sure I can go back and look. There were probably some zoot suits or some examples of suits that were not the traditional classic suits, but suits were the main entree of the day as it related to fashion. And so that's just my vibe. I've always enjoyed putting on clothes, getting dressed up, having my personality shine through my appearance and my apparel. So today I not even challenge you, but I want to encourage you, because I know a lot of people, men, I'm talking men in particular, aren't big on dressing up for whatever the reason may be. One of the reasons I think is that men that have suits, they have like one or two suits, they're just ill-fitting. They bought the suit, it was for an event, it's for a dinner that they needed it, maybe a funeral, some type of thing that they needed a suit. They want to spend a bunch of money on the suit. They went and got this $99 suit or $200 suit, whatever the amount was, and they just wear it to everything that requires a suit. So it's just not a lot of customization. So if you're that person, I would encourage you to take that suit and just take it to a tailor. Whatever the amount that you spent for it, take it to a tailor and get them to adjust the fit of your suit in your pants and in your jacket. And it would make a world of difference if you had a suit that was fit custom to your body. If it draped the way the fabric draped across your shoulders and it accentuated the contours of your particular physique, I think that would do 1,000%. I think you'll feel 1,000% more better in that suit than just getting the suit off the rack and ironing it and throwing it on and just having it look like waterfalls at the bottom of your suit. Or it just man, a suit that's ill-fitted, it just doesn't look well. I was watching the news this weekend. I got a niece that's a TV anchor, and there were a couple of guys. One guy in particular, he had on this jacket that just looked like it was his grandfather's jacket, and it just did not compliment him. I'm sure it didn't feel good being swallowed by this jacket. And so what I'm going to do going forward, I'm going to create this video series, because two things have happened to me a lot as it relates to fashion and style. One of two things will happen. Someone will see me and say, "Oh man, your wife must have picked that out for you." Let me say this, and there's no shade. I'm not being facetious. My wife doesn't buy me clothes. She just doesn't do it. It's too much to buy clothes for me. So she stopped. I don't know when she stopped, because she tried. She gave efforts. She tried, and she just couldn't figure out the puzzle. So she just relented. My wife, she's very hard working. When she faces a brick wall, she's at some point is like, I'm good. So she just stopped. Now she may give me a gift card to a particular place, but in terms of her going to a store, looking at clothing and bringing it home, it doesn't happen. And if it does happen, I've said, "Hey, could you grab this for me?" So my wife doesn't pick out my clothes. My wife doesn't dress me. My wife has never dressed me ever. What I typically wear is 100% inspired by what I think is fashionable. So that's number one. Number two is, there's often, when I'm doing events, husbands, wives, dudes, people will often come to me and say, either number one, dudes will say, "Hey man, I wish I could go shopping with you." Or number two, wives would say, "I wish my husband can go shopping with you." So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create some videos do some videos where I will, hey man, give you some fashion tips, some style tips, some things that I've learned. And I've had quite a journey. Like I've hired a stylist. I've had customs. One of the biggest evolutions in my style. I didn't have a casual style for a long time. My casual style was me not wearing a tie. I would have on a suit, a shirt that was unbuttoned, no tie. That was me being casual. Me being casual is either me showing up with some dress shirt, some some slacks, and a blazer. I had no button-up shirts I could roll up the collar. I had no khakis, no knits, sweaters. I had nothing between workout clothes and suits. That was my max. I had the workout clothes, voila, that I'm wearing today, or I had suits and blazers. I had nothing in between. I had that middle ground, date night, movie night, showing up at a PTA or an event recital. Your boy's in a suit jacket. And that was too much. So that's going to be one of the video emphasis going forward. And send me some questions. If you got questions about style, you want to refresh your style, you want to, and I'm thinking 30 and up. This new age, these boys, they different. Maybe even 35 and up because they got a different sense. I'm classic throwback. A lot of my style is inspired by the academy. I often think about if I was a college professor, how would I want to show up at class? So yeah, man, give me some ideas, and maybe we can think of a cool name of this video. I'm actually I shot my guy that does the editing of our podcast. I told him, hey man, we're gonna do videos. I got my philosophy going forward about these videos is everything plus the kitchen sink. Emphasis on going viral. I'm gonna put out whatever ideas I have. We got to go viral, people, and I need your help. But if you have any questions about fashion and style, email me, info@comedianmikegoodwin.com. Again, advice of the day. The best advice ever is if you look good, you feel good. Put some attention on your style and your fashion, whatever it is. Again, I'm not asking you to wear a suit every day. I'm just asking you, put a little polish on. Put a little polish on your shoes, man. Get your shirt custom. Get you some get a tailor to hem your pants and bring in and whatever cause that's the other thing. I did not get to weight. I did not get to weight. And we're almost out of time. So I'll have to talk about weight on the next podcast. But man, thank y'all so much for checking in to another episode of the Best Advice Ever podcast. Follow me on social media. I'm at Bowtie Comedy on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I'm at Comedian Mike Goodwin. I'm over there on the TikTok with the young people doing the TikToks. That's at Bowtie Comedy. Also on YouTube. Some of you are watching me now. Check in. Let me know how you're enjoying the show. Download it. Rate the show. All the things. We gotta grow this, and I would love to have your help. Thank you so much for checking in, and I'll see you next week. Same bat channel, same bat time. Same bat channel, same bat time. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with me, and I appreciate it. Peace.